Avengers Infinity War is a film I've been waiting to see since the end credits of the first Avengers film 6 years ago. This is where that tease of Thanos finally pays off, and it did not disappoint. I'm going to split this video up into two parts. The first half will have no spoilers, and the second half will be my spoiler review, but I'll warn you before I make that transition. So let's get started.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people.
I did a lot of research going into this movie, as I made 3 Marvel videos before the film. I'll link those in the description if you want to watch them. But anyway, I was pretty knowledgeable going into the movie, but the film did some things that I did not expect. This is the first time we see both the Guardians and the Avengers join together, which was really cool to watch.
Let's talk about this plan of yours. I think it's good, except it sucks. So let me do the plan, and that way it might be really good. Wow.
The Avengers are sort of the more serious characters, while the Guardians have most of the comedic relief, which is fitting based on the tone of each of their separate films. Spider-Man had some funny lines as well, similar to his line in Civil War.
You ever see that really old movie? Empire Strikes Back?
Jesus, Tony, how old is this guy?
I don't know, I didn't carbon date him, he's on the young side.
Most of the time, they also had Thor be more like his Ragnarok appearance, and less like how he was in the original Thor movie and the Dark World movie. This was a serious film, but somehow they were able to perfectly transition from comedic parts to serious ones with the snap of a finger. Every character in this movie had a chance to shine at least once, whether that be with a badass moment, a comedic moment, or even an emotional moment. But the character that stole the show was Thanos. This was plain and simple his movie. We saw him in 2 post-credit scenes, and he had a small role in Guardians of the Galaxy, but this film mostly focused on him. They really humanize him in this film and actually make you feel for him. The actual story in this film was very well written, perhaps the best MCU film plot-wise. They had so many characters that they had to incorporate into this film, which could have made it so easy to mess up, but they did a fantastic job balancing each character's screen time. And not only that, but as I said before, pretty much all of them had at least one standout moment. The film also incorporated each Infinity Stone, which had been scattered through the past 7 years of movies. I made a whole video on the stones, and it was pretty complicated. Each one had their own story, and all ended up in a certain place before Infinity War. The fact that they were able to make that pay off in this movie was fantastic. I also think that they utilized each stone's power in a great way. You see each one be used at least once, and they didn't just use each stone for the hell of it. Each time they were used, it added something to the story. This movie expanded the galaxy of the MCU so much. We saw many different planets, and it brought Wakanda and the rest of Earth together. Again, having the final scene in Black Panther pay off here.
When you said we were going to open Wakanda to the rest of the world, this is not what I imagined.
What did you imagine?
The Olympics? Maybe even a Starbucks?
It also mixes cosmic entities, magic, aliens, different dimensions, and so much more. All of this is packed into 2.5 hours, and yet it still doesn't seem cluttered. The cinematography in the film was beautiful, and may have surpassed any other Marvel film in my personal opinion. Now, as good as the movie was, I did have some complaints. Right now, I'll just point out the parts that I had problems with that don't spoil the movie, and later I'll do the ones that do. One complaint I have is some of Thanos' animation. It wasn't up to the level that I feel it should have been in a film like this. And the same goes for the Black Order, the people that were working for Thanos. Their animation was kind of lacking as well. The MCU is one of the best at using CGI, so I was kind of surprised that they dropped the ball on this one. Now, I'll save the rest of my complaints for later, as the rest have spoilers in them. So now I'm switching to the spoiler review. So here's your warning.
In time, you will know what it's like to lose.
There were so many moments that made my mouth drop. I think the thing that surprised me the most was the appearance of Red Skull. As I said in one of my pre-Infinity War videos, Red Skull was likely to make an appearance, but I didn't expect it like this. In Captain America: The First Avenger, he was sucked into a portal by the Tesseract, and now we find him decades later, being punished because the stones didn't find him worthy. His punishment for his greed is to help and watch others find the stones, the things that he wanted more than anything. And now that Thanos has the Soul Stone, he has nothing left to guard, so I'm interested in seeing where he goes next. The whole sequence with the Soul Stone was incredible, and probably my favorite part of the film. This is where I actually felt for Thanos for the first time. Just like Red Skull, he's being punished for collecting the stones. He has to let go of the thing he loves most. Gamora laughs, thinking that he lost, as he doesn't love anyone or anything in the universe. But then he turns around, a tear dripping down his face as he looks at Gamora. My mouth dropped at this part. The way Gamora went out was beautifully written and so shocking with the green blood all around her head. Another thing that I really enjoyed was the couples in the film, which sounds odd for this type of movie, but they actually added a lot to the story. They weren't just there for the sake of being there as most movies do. Peter and Gamora's relationship was my favorite. When she asked Peter to kill her if Thanos gets her, and that moment actually arises, it was so heartbreaking. And the fact that he was actually going to do it shows how much he loves her. But the part of the relationship that broke my heart was when he found out about her death and tried to beat the crap out of Thanos. Chris Pratt gave an outstanding performance, and it was a type of performance that he's not particularly known for. Another couple that I really liked was Vision and Wanda. Their story actually parallels Gamora and Peter's story, with Wanda having to kill Vision, just like Peter was going to kill Gamora. The fact that she killed the man she loved, saw him come back, and then killed again right in front of her eyes is truly heartbreaking. I really enjoyed the way that they showed Bruce Banner and the Hulk. The Hulk gets his ass kicked for the first time by Thanos, which in itself was a crazy scene, but after that he's scared to come out. He keeps pushing away and saying no every time Bruce wants to change. It's also the first time we see the two interact, and now we understand more of how their relationship works. I was very excited to see Black Panther and Wakanda again, because I absolutely loved that movie. The scene where T'Challa says, "Open the shield," gave me chills. Then the line where they say, "This will be the end of Wakanda," that hit me hard. Another line that I really liked was Vision arguing with Cap about sacrificing his life for the universe, and Cap says no. Vision then points out that Cap did the same thing.
I gotta put her in the water.
We've known for a while that Peter Dinklage was in the film, but weren't entirely sure how. I love how they made him a giant dwarf. I thought that was absolutely hilarious, and you could tell he was having a good time with this role. His character was a great addition. It gave us an origin on Thor's hammer, and seeing him make the new weapon is so cool. Thor's true power was shown in this film. First, he survived the huge explosion in the ship. Then he survived taking on the full power of a freaking star. And when he got his new weapon and came to save the day in Wakanda, he kicked ass. He came the closest to killing Thanos, and for a second I thought he actually did. Now back to some things that I didn't like, this time with spoilers. I didn't like how easily the Black Order was killed. I feel like their strength was inconsistent. At one part they're unstoppable, and then next they're getting taken down pretty easily. I also didn't like how weak they made Vision. He's supposed to be one of the most powerful of all the Avengers, but the whole movie he's getting hurt and having to be saved by others. First he was saved by Team Cap from Civil War, and at the end he was like a burden. Each member on the comms kept saying, "Vision needs help," or "Vision needs to be protected." Another complaint is the way they made Thor so hellbent on getting his new hammer. It contradicts everything that they said in Thor Ragnarok.
Without my hammer, I can't.
Are you Thor, the god of hammers? That hammer was to help you control your power, to focus it. It's never your source of strength.
He didn't need his hammer to take out the whole bridge of Hela's army. In Infinity War, everything he did the same in Thor Ragnarok without his hammer. And that was one of the main points of the film. Thor coming to terms with losing his hammer, and realizing that his power isn't from the hammer, but from inside himself. No, I feel like I have to talk about the deaths in the film. I already talked about Gamora, and that was probably my favorite death. But the first two to go in the film were Loki and Heimdall. Loki is actually one of my favorite characters in the MCU, and although the Thor films weren't always that great, the dynamic between Loki and Thor was always interesting to me. So to see him die and hear Thanos say, "No resurrections this time," hit me hard. Afterwards, the scene where Thor and Rocket were talking, Thor literally breaks down, thinking about how much he lost, which was very unexpected, and I feel like it added a lot to his character development. The ending is the craziest part, and where most of the deaths take place. Doctor Strange gives Thanos a time stone. Strange definitely has a plan, but I'm not sure what. When he looked into the future and saw those millions of outcomes, and realized that there was only one where they could win, he saw something. I think that he saw that giving the time stone was the only way to stop him, and that was exactly what he said to Tony. It was the only way. Thanos finally gets all of the stones and snaps his finger just like in the comics, and then half the universe is erased. So many characters fade away. The saddest by far for me was Peter's death, when he tells Tony that he doesn't want to die. That was Tony's worst fear come true, and you can just tell by his face that he's already blaming himself. Really, all that's left now are the original Avengers, plus War Machine, Rocket, and Nebula. And forgive me if I forgot anyone else. Having all of the Phase 1 Avengers stay is quite fitting, as the next film is most of their final one, before their contracts end. Now, do I think that's the end of the characters that faded away? No, not all of them. Many are the next generation of the MCU, like Spider-Man and Black Panther. But yes, I feel some might not come back. I feel like them coming back involves the original Avengers team saving them, and possibly even sacrificing themselves to bring the others back. But we'll see. The scene where Thanos sees young Gamora was a beautiful scene and was so well shot and put together. How I interpret the scene is that because he gave Gamora soul for the Soul Stone, the thing that he loves more than anything, the stone is punishing him for that decision by showing him what he gave up to rise to power. Gamora says, "What did it cost?" And he said, "Everything." Another thing I feel I have to mention is the post-credit scene. I love how Sam Jackson almost said his famous line, "Motherfucker. Then he drops the device and it shows Captain Marvel's logo. I'm very excited to see her, and she's extremely powerful, meaning that she might be a huge asset to helping the others in Avengers 4. Her solo film is going to be released before Avengers 4 in March 2019, but it's a prequel that will take place in the 90s. Well, that about does it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked this video, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and you can follow me on social media. Links are in the description.